So how much potential do we have? Unlimited. How many of you agree we have lots and lots and lots and lots of potential? Raise your hand if you agree. We have lots of potential. So intellectually, our part of our brain, our sort of outer cortex of the brain, which is the intellectual, analytical part of the brain, understands through our exposure in life that most people have unlimited potential. We don't all say unlimited, but we know there's lots. In other words, we know that what we are today, we could be a lot more. Okay. However, you don't believe it. If you believed it, you would be on a constant growth path. You would be getting better and better all the time. So what we found is that whereas intellectually, so belief comes from the subconscious mind, which is based on its own sort of black and white understanding and measurement of what's happened in your life. So its normal logic is, you've never done that before, why are you suddenly going to be able to do it? So you have ingrained beliefs. Some of them have, of course, been imposed on you over time, and so you don't have a belief that supports limitless potential. I know this for a fact because you would be thriving if you did. You'd be constantly growing, constantly getting better, constantly producing incredible results. There would be lots of 8s and 9s and 10s in this room, if that was a fact. And I also know it for a fact because just from a general statistical process, we know that it's in the 90+%. So we can be pretty safe in a room full of 300 people that it's most of you. So the belief and the attitude really is what dictates how we act. So it's the action that dictates the results we get, but the results feeds the belief and attitude. So this is something they call the success cycle, right? So basically, you have sold X amount in your business before. Somebody tells you, we've sold 50 times more, and this is what you can do in order to achieve an incredible result and a growth like that. And you going consciously, okay, you're convincing me, I see the plan, I should do this. But at a subconscious level, say, but come on, you sell this much, you've never sold that much. And your brain actually goes like, maybe he can do it, but you can't do it. I mean, you can't do it, you've never done it. Because you record reality, in inverted commas, that dictates what you choose to believe in. So once you've achieved something, you actually go, now you don't even do this because you don't realize that you sometimes achieve something, but you're not paying attention. So you're still buying into the theory. And the belief is stronger than the reality. So you may even improve, but because you're not measuring, by the way, one of my core things that I did from 2012 is you don't actually realize you're improving. Because there's no such thing as we put 3 months of effort in and we quadruple the size of our business. No, we've got to consistently put effort in, and anything in marketing and sales, for instance, takes a consistent effort over time before a result is really seen. So this, which was taught by Tony Robbins to me many, many, many years ago, is actually a negative downward spiral. So we find through psychology that people are actually worsening their belief in their ability to do things as they get older. So they're becoming less and less belief in their potential as they get older. And that's scary. That's why I showed you my life up until 42 just felt like it was a gradual decline all the time. That's scary. And this is studied and found that most people are like that. We live a life of continuous desperation going down and down and down and down until we die. For a lot of us, we hope our kids do it better. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on our kids to do it better, which has also been psychologically found, that there's a crazy amount of incorrect pressure put on children because of the failure of their parents, and we just don't live lives that are full. Now, here's the interesting thing. It's a gradual decline over a long period of time. You can turn that around to a gradual increase over a period. That's what I did in 2012. That gradual increase eventually accelerated, but the truth is, you can turn it around. How do you turn it around? Well, you have to change something that's going on in your mind. You have to push your mind. So I always struggled with change your mindset. It was always change your mindset. Change your mind. You want to be successful, change your mind. I'm like, I've been trying to change my mind. It doesn't want to change. Freaked like I used to really get freaked out because there's a lot of study and psychology around mind power and stuff, which I believe in, but I'm not very good at it. So I was really struggling to change my mind. So to say just change your mind, everything will change around you, no. You've got to change your mind, but also change what you do. And what you need is a little incremental improvement. Just 1% as an example. But you have to measure it because you won't see it. I always used to say it's like watching your fingernail grow. Has anyone ever tried to stare at their fingernail to see if it's growing? Now, even though it does, like you can stare at it for like 2 days, I promise you it growed, but you didn't see it, right? Because it's so gradual. But if you measure it every day, you'll notice that it grows. Substantially, actually. And that's exactly what it's like. If you don't measure, guys, seriously, you don't measure, we're going to talk about it just now, you're not going to see anything. And because you need proof that there was an improvement. Because when you do, what will happen is initially you'll go, maybe it was a fluke. Let's do it for another week. And then it happens a second time and you go, okay. Your belief starts to say, okay, well, we can improve by 1% every month. And it starts to buy into that. And so your action starts to improve. And you want to understand when I talk about action. You know, you and I can do exactly the same thing to exactly the same market with exactly the same product. I succeed and you don't succeed. Why? So our mindset, our actual belief system, our own, our ability to have, confidence, our ability to portray from a certain place that you can't even see or feel dictates results. It's the craziest thing. You think you lose a sale because they didn't like your product. From studies through sales, most people don't say no to a product because they don't like a product. I mean, you guys all go, oh, no one wants to buy my product because everyone said no. What do you do when you don't want somebody to sell you something? Well, I don't have any money. I mean, come on, we sit in our Mercedes-Benzes at stop streets where the beggars come up and they go, money, and you go, I don't have any money. Because it's the go-to to get a person to stop selling to you. In fact, in studies in sales, the first objection is almost never the real objection. So if they say they don't have the money, 99 out of 100 times, it's not true. And it does not mean people didn't want to buy from you. You just didn't know. And you didn't know how to position that. And that lack of confidence or that lack of ability to push past that stopped you from getting a sale. So I'm digressing, but I just want to show in a simple term how much this actually affects it. How many of you love desperate people? Who buys from desperate people? When they come there and they want to sell you something and, oh my God, they're going to die if you don't buy it from them. Their whole family's going to suffer. You're like, I'm so confident that I want your product right now, because it's not coming from the right place. And we can smell desperation. We can smell it. In other words, we can sense it. It's not even obvious to us sometimes, but there's something about it that our gut says we don't like this. So you've got to understand that action is dictated by what's going on in our head. So it can be physically the same action as somebody else, but one gets a result and one doesn't. So the relationship is between both of these. So reality is, your current reality is what you're living, right? If you look at your life, it's a reality. What you've got to understand is it's not the same reality as the person sitting next to you. Every individual has their own unique reality of life. And literally, I mean unique. Not a single person in this room right in this moment is having the same experience with the same thought patterns than any other person in this room. Every individual is having their own reality right now of what's happening, what's going on, how they respond in what they're thinking to what's going on around us. And this has been proven over and over again. And when I first got into human behavioral development when I was 26 years old, I met this guy called Emil Ratelband, who's a protege of Tony Robbins, and I hosted him in South Africa because of an organization I was part of. And one of the first things I remember saying is he's this big Dutch guy, like literal Dutch guy, not like we say in South Africa, from Holland. And he's this huge guy, very boisterous. And he was out there, and he was like, reality with his big accent is reality. Reality is just an illusion. It's just an illusion. Reality is not real. Whatever you think, whatever story you tell about why you didn't get that deal, why this is not working in your life, why something's wrong, it's your story. It's not reality. It can't be. Because at the same time, other people are doing incredible things with the same challenges or greater challenges than you. But you want to believe that the world is against you. You want to believe that your reality is the reality. The problem with that is it never improves if that's what you believe. So you've got to first understand, hey, when you catch yourself complaining about something or blaming something, you go, hey, you know what, that's just my reality. I need to start changing this friggin' reality, because the outside world is not going to change as long as we have that BS in our mind. Okay? And so it's an illusion. Potential, which we mentioned earlier, now there's a fancy word if we get into the depth of this, not potential, it's actually a word called actuality. But in science, it means like a perfect environment or a perfect equation. So we have this ability to really be incredible human beings. Reality, our reality of life is a distortion of that potential. So the potential's real. What we live in is not a real reflection. It's like a distorted, very fuzzy, messed up reflection. You need to understand this. Everything I tell you is going to be pointless unless you are prepared to take responsibility and say, whatever is happening, I'm the one making that happen. Because if you can't do that, then you need some external power or force to fix your problems. And then I recommend drugs and alcohol. Because it doesn't last, but at least for a while it'll feel like they're fixed, or you'll forget about them, right? Because you've got to get this, guys. And as entrepreneurs, which is a word that we all use very loosely, we're supposed to be out there making things happen. There's no entrepreneur in the world that sits on the arse and expects things to happen for them. We're go-getters. A lot of you are sitting in this room tonight because actually you're a go-getter. You're a person that'll hustle and make something happen. The problem is if you don't believe in it, you're not going to do much at all. So the context I want you to understand is whatever your reality is, because it's different for everyone in this room, both from the physical outset in terms of how much money you earn and the car you drive and the husband or wife that you have and the kids that you have, it's your reality, not everyone else's. And I mean, let's just talk about that in simple context. You can have a husband and wife with the same kids. Have you noticed that? They're actually the same kids. You get what I'm saying? But the experience that the husband and wife have are very different with those kids. In fact, when I had kids, I knew that when mom was around, the kids acted in a very particular way. When mom wasn't around, they acted differently. So I sent mom to America and got divorced. No, I'm kidding. She took the damn kids with her, but anyway, it's a long story. The point is, at the end of the day, that's because we have different realities in the same space and time, like when it comes to kids. The mother, I'm just being hypothetical, it could be the father, has no issue with the kids and the environment and how they act in, but the other partner does. Same physical reality. It's just the two individuals have a different perspective of that. What is reality? Simply our perceptions, our decisions we make off those perceptions, and our actions that we take off those decisions. So it's not just the thought, it is literally how it manifests through us in terms of what we decide and what we act upon as a whole. So we want to change results, so we can literally say perceptions and decisions are dictating how we act, and how we act dictates the results that we get. And we have to change the downward spiral to an upward spiral so that we're constantly improving.